Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko Tamurian and Najee Moye.
Well, hey there, and welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone. Welcome to the showdown of the regular season. I'm Niko Tamurian. He's Najee Moye. Boy, Najee, it's just unequivocal. At this point of the season, this is as big as it gets. The stakes couldn't be higher for mid-December. Let's go.
This is a play-in game.
Yeah.
This is a play-in game in that the Rams already have clinched playoff seeding mostly because of they already beat the Seahawks in a really close game. The game of the year part one, honestly, in LA. Great game. But this is for the Seahawks to be like, hey, listen, we're in this. We can win the division, you know?
Yeah.
And this will go very far in winning the division. And the Seahawks kind of have to. I feel like this is a must-win game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if you're an 11-win team, and I know it's mid-December, but this is a must-win game because, one, of who they're playing, and two, how last week went. Also.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are just like, they watched last week's game against the Colts, against old Grandpa Rivers.
Sure.
And they're kind of left wanting more, including me.
Yeah, like the defense wasn't bad, and special teams obviously was great with 6 field goals. It's just, only the 4-7 franchise history, they won a game without scoring an offensive touchdown. In fact, one of those was last year when they beat the Bears with a
big
couple
New York
field goals.
Giants energy.
And
not in a good way.
It was one of those things where it felt like a Pete Carroll kind of win, like you win him in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: like you don't need that when you're going against 44-year-old grandfather, and that was a point of emphasis as the team was talked throughout the week. It's the idea that, by and large, when you look at the overall body of work, the offense has done some really nice things. They're in the top 5 in scoring.
Yeah.
However, lately there's been slow starts, and there's been, the Minnesota game, they won running away 26-0, but they only scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Right.
It's just one of those things.
You want the team to perform as well as they can.
Yeah.
And, in the NFL, it's kind of difficult to do that when, like I said, any given Sunday, the Colts are still a team still trying to fight for a playoff spot. They're not, let's not say they're slouches, They did lose their quarterback, Daniel Jones, for the year. They had a guy in Phillip Rivers who can play quarterback.
Yeah.
Better than a lot of people at his prime, honestly. But this is a team that had a great defense and a great run again. That was kind of bottled up a little bit by the Seahawks. But they still, they're a team that's fighting for the AFC South, in a very competitive.
They're just
AFC
a game
South.
out of the
They're a game
playoffs heading into this week.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're used to seeing the Seahawks firing out all cylinders against teams that they should beat, especially on the defensive side. Now, that being said, on defense, there are many things I noticed when going up against Phillip Rivers, but I was wondering how they only managed to sack him once.
Yeah, it's funny. They almost had 2 sacks. The one where he kind of like bobbled the snap. It was just, I think there was a couple things there. One thing Mike McDonald pointed out Monday was the idea that they had Rivers in the shotgun a little bit more than they anticipated. In other words, you didn't have film of Phillip Rivers since 2020.
Yes,
and the Colts did different things to match his skill set. Using shotgun. Football 101, he has a little bit more time. He doesn't have to be under center and drop back.
But isn't that kind of an obvious thing? Just thinking that, okay, this guy's turning 45. He is a literal grandfather. He hasn't played football in 5 years. And he's like, okay, the Colts offense is like, maybe let's not have him do 4-step drops.
Sure. I think obviously, listen, the Seahawks defense
himself.
Was prepared for it, but they weren't maybe to the extent that the Colts did it.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I think it was just a matter of it being an unknown to an extent. You don't really know what you're going to get from Phillip Rivers in that regard.
Sure.
But again, the takeaway here is, the defense did overall play for some good football, just the 1 touchdown. Special teams, as we mentioned, was great. And the offense, one thing Clint Kubiak said this week that really stood out to me, somebody asked him if, as they get later in the season, especially against good teams, playoff caliber teams, which, like it or not, the Colts are, the Rams are, the Panthers are, the Niners are, et cetera, that do they change things because the Seahawks offense was just humming at one point, right?
Well, they got film on the Seahawks too.
So he said they do things that they haven't done all season. I'm talking about opposing defenses that the Seahawks have not seen. And it's all based on taking away, say, JSN or what the Seahawks are doing well that week or well lately. And, it's an adjustment. Listen, Kubiak, McDonald, they have not been shy about saying they have to start faster.
Yeah.
And, if you start faster, you probably don't need the last minute field goal to beat the Colts and things of that sort.
Right.
But it's the nature of the league. And okay, so the defense kind of fires the opening salvo as far as the other teams are concerned and how they're adjusting the Seahawks. Right. Now it's the Seahawks' turn. Okay, this is what teams are doing to take away Jackson. And I expect him to adjust. Now the Rams aren't going to make it easy, and the stakes in this game couldn't be higher for mid-December, like we talked about. But it's going to be interesting to see the response of that offense.
Yeah, especially coming after the first game. Talking about the Rams, coming off of that first game. The Rams game was the first game all year I thought the defense played, and I know they lost the game, played exceptionally well. The Seahawks did.
And since then, they've been turnover machines, and you had 5 against the Vikings, I believe it was, 3 against the Falcons.
This is a pretty good defensive front they're going up against. The second best defense in the league, I think, second to the Seahawks. I think that I'll still put the Seahawks kind of ahead of them. But one thing we also need to see is I'm looking at the box score from the Colts game, and we need to see more from our running backs.
Yeah, that's an issue
because especially I know the Colts are missing a big part of the center of their defensive line, and they just still could not manifest a run. I mean, we have big games from Rashid Shaheed had a huge game,
really nice game
receiving. Jason still had over 100 yards, but I'm like, we need more than 13 yards from K9, man. I mean, especially on a depleted Colts defense, and what are you expecting from the Rams after all? They're coming at you.
Yeah, they're coming at you, and let's lay out the stakes of this game here too. So obviously the most obvious factor, primetime Thursday night, the whole nation, the whole world, for that matter, is watching.
Yep.
The Seahawks clinch a playoff berth with a win.
Mm-hmm.
They can also clinch it if they lose, but the Detroit Lions lose as well.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much a shoo-in. Basically, down the line, you have to win one or the Lions lose one in the next 3 weeks. Pretty good odds.
Yeah.
But you don't want it to come to that.
No,
now,
you want to win the division.
Exactly, and that's what I want to talk about next.
Exactly.
If you look at different odds makers and sites and things of that sort, if you just do the math on it, the Seahawks win, you have about a 50-50 chance of winning the division.
Yeah.
You have one game on the Rams, and you will have split the season series. Now, the difference there is you have 2 tough remaining games, Panthers, believe it or not, playoff knocking on the door.
Very good.
And the Niners on the road.
Yeah.
Whereas the Rams have the Falcons and Cardinals. They're probably going to finish those 2-0, especially given the stakes. But if you win this, you have a 1-game lead with 2 to go.
Again, playing the game.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you have about a 50-50 chance. If you lose this game, not only will the Rams have won the season series, but they will also have that 1-game lead on you. So the Rams would have to lose both. The Seahawks would have to win both, and then you would win the division. And again, given who the Rams are playing, that's probably not going to happen. So like you said, play into the playoffs with a win for sure. Give yourself a realistic and arguably pretty good chance of winning the division with the win. But if you lose, the division title is off the table. It's not mathematically off the table, but it's virtually realistically off the table. I think, and I want to point out by saying that I did this would be if the Seahawks win, this would be the 12th win on the year, and I did call 12. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot actually. But I was like hemming and hawing about upgrading mine to 11, and here they are at 11-3, and that's something that
I just felt confident in their defense, especially from first year last year.
We talked about it all last summer. Ernest Jones, him coming over was a big deal. And then you talked about some of the other pieces they were bringing, like DeMarcus Lawrence and guys being healthy and the secondary being lights out. It's like, and drafting Nicky Manwari.
Yeah.
These were all
huge lately.
Unbelievable. These are all things that we saw this summer that it's still crazy to me that the Vegas odds makers had the over-under on the win total at 7.5.
Yeah.
Crazy.
5 games.
Exactly.
About 5 games.
So I was a little reluctant. I think I let that in my head a little bit to go above 11, but I think realistically,
I'm a genius.
13 it would be.
It's possible.
I think it could be likely.
It could be 14 also.
Yeah.
Like at the end. Of the
you really
year.
could be.
It really could be. So
so it's going to be interesting to see. One thing about the Rams. Listen, both sides know the stakes. Last year we were in the same boat. It was Seahawks and Rams for the division title. Factor into it, the Rams have certainly had Sam Darnold's number.
Yeah.
I love what Sam said. He's like, listen, obviously I didn't play my best game. Like, 4 picks. He gets it.
Sure.
But he says, we've been working hard ever since. We're looking at this game, what we can do against the Rams and say, hey, like, that was not a great game down there, yet we almost won. Yeah. Think about that. They played with four picks from Darnold, probably played their worst game of the season. And yet they had Jason Myers out there to kick the game-winning field. Now, albeit it was 61 yards. It is not on him to miss that. Yeah. Like, that just happens. But the fact that they had that opportunity, despite playing that poorly and on the road, to me, and arguably you're playing better now, save for, the offense has been a little bit dicey since that game, of course.
Right.
And maybe the Rams exposed something that other teams have tried to emulate. And I think that but all things considered, larger picture, which I like to look at.
Right.
Everything we just said about how close it was, despite the poor effort. I like their chances coming up here.
Yeah.
And Rashid Shaheed's getting more ingrained in the offense. Cooper Kupp's been getting more involved. And so
despite being honed in on JSN, had over 100 yards last
that's year. This is what happened last year with JSN. Everybody was so focused on DK Metcalf that JSN broke out. Now, we obviously are not seeing Cooper Kupp and Rashid Shaheed break out to that extent, maybe soon, but I think that the idea here is that the Seahawks are proving, okay, if you want to do everything in your power to take away JSN, Rashid can beat you. Our tight ends can beat you. Cooper Kupp can beat you.
Yeah.
And that is going to be absolutely put to the test on Thursday night.
I think we definitely just need to see more from the running backs. I mean, you don't want to become predictable. You don't want to go down early. This also goes back to what you were talking about, a slow start.
Sure.
This is not a team talking about the Rams that you want to start slow against. I know in the first game, I said on this podcast that I didn't think that the Rams deserved to win the game. I didn't think the Seahawks deserved to win the game. I think both teams played badly. I thought Matthew Stafford looked very confused a lot of the game. And Sam Darnold obviously threw 4 picks. A fast start from the Seahawks, more balanced football though.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it like this, if you're the Rams, you're kind of okay. JSN's option number 1 and probably option number 2. And Zach Charbonnet is going to get some carries. K9's going to get some carries, but K9 has been looking a little bit more mortal, especially last week. I have faith in the Seahawks, but I know that there's only a certain amount of things that they can do offensively that they've proven to me that they can do to really throw this Rams defense off. I think you're going to see JSN get doubled a lot.
Sure.
Obviously. This could be a good Rashid Shaheed game. This could be a good Cooper Kupp game. But, Sam Darnold looking around at these guys, how long can they even pretend to even act like they want to run the ball, when they're down by 2 touchdowns if they start slow?
Right.
I know this Rams team is facing injuries, especially on the offense. Puka Nacua got hurt a couple weeks ago. He's fine. Believe me, he's completely okay. And we may not even see Devontae Adams on the other side.
Yeah, right.
So he's injured too. It's just going to be an interesting game. I'm excited to watch it though. On Thursday night, it's going to be fun.
This is not to be cliche about it, but this is what you play football for. This is why you're a fan for games like this. And you look at it with all the stakes we mentioned: divisional title on the line, playoff berth for the Hawks on the line, and you have the feeling that they're probably going to run into each other again in January. Maybe so it's just one of those games that it's got so much juice to it, to steal a Pete Carroll term. It's got so much juice to it, so much energy to it. And that translates to the guys. One of the things I like to do on this show is how, we're at the facility and we can get a vibe on things. And listen, it's always a quiet, confident swagger about this team. But there's definitely an urgency. Now, that's not just about the stakes. That's more about 2 games in 5 days.
Sure.
And the second of those games being against
the Rams. That could also be a good thing, though.
Yeah,
you don't overthink about these things,
and
you don't overinstall.
Here's what I would say, and not that maybe it's a little too early for our predictions, but I'm heck with it. I'm going to go right with it. Here's what I take away from this, and I like to make these predictions based on feel, because we can break down the X's and O's till we're blue in the face, and we can continue doing that. That's fine. But there's always something when it comes to a championship caliber team. There's always something different about them. And when it comes to the Seahawks, to me, that's this ability to keep winning these games in every which way. The fact that the offense was, let's just say, kind of abysmal against the Colts. Maybe got going a little bit. Like Rashid Shaheed was a nice spot there. But by and large, was not good.
No.
They were horrible in the first half against the Falcons.
Against a playoff defense.
Right.
Yes.
And so, you go back to the Falcons game. They were horrible in the first half. Second half, okay, they were great. You go to the other, you go to the game before that, Minnesota didn't score an offensive touchdown in the fourth quarter. So why am I rehashing all this? It's the idea that they won all 3 of those games.
That's true.
And they keep finding ways to win this. You look at the Vikings game. It was Ernest Jones pick 6. 5 turnovers for us. The defense was just incredible. The Falcons game, what was the spark? Rashid Shaheed returning a kickoff to start the second half, and that just opened everything else up, and the Hawks ran away with it from there. What was it in this Colts game? Well, they never ran away with it, of course, but
they ended up with the ball last.
I was just going to say, you lose that game without Jason Myers, or at least a kicker who's not as consistent as Jason Myers. Special teams winning the day again was 6 field goals, which is insane. So they keep finding a way. The Rams are obviously better than the Colts, the Falcons, the Vikings. Okay, we know that. We're not trying to say that. But what I'm saying is, we're heading into this matchup, I would bet on Mike McDonald, the genius that this guy is, the way he pulls things like a rabbit out of a hat. And the culture of this team that is instilled, that they have each other's backs, that seeing the offense struggle is something galvanizing. Like with a lot of other teams, certainly not championship teams, a lot of other teams, you'll see like one side of the ball maybe call out the other or just sit there dejected when quarterback throws a pick or whatever.
Sure.
The Seahawks function in such a different way that if Sam makes a mistake and throws a pick, like they're fired up.
Yeah.
Because they want to go get the ball back for him.
Yeah.
They want to stand up for their guy.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a really unique thing. I know it sounds cliche, but that's a really unique thing. And it's how they almost beat the Rams down there. So I look at this as, okay, the offense has got some stuff to figure out, obviously. But with that said, if the Rams hold them in check again, I don't see any reason why the defense isn't going to give Stafford fits, why special teams isn't going to pop a big play.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the game-winning field goal from Myers, okay, that's special teams. But how did that get set up? It was Rashid Shaheed returning it to the Colts' 38-yard line. So all that it took was one pass of 17 yards to Rashid, of course, to make that happen. And I was actually able to interview him one-on-one on the field after the game. And that's what he said. He said, we have each other's backs. If I had a dime for every time I heard a Seahawks player this year say, we have each other's backs, I'd actually be rich. And that's really a good thing. Well, they all say the same line. And I love that because it means they're in lockstep.
Yeah.
And quite clearly it is working. That's why they're 11-3.
It sounds like you're ready to give a score prediction.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Seahawks by 50, right?
No, I'm going to say Seahawks.
I want to, before you go, I want to.
Ooh, okay.
Well, no, I just want to point out by saying that
you're like Rams, a Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
No. Here's the thing, though, because I'm looking at the Rams' past couple of games. They've played some pretty good teams.
Yeah, of course.
Since the Seahawks, and of course now my ESPN app doesn't want to work. It always happens that way. So since the Seahawks lost to the Rams by 2 points in mid-November, but exactly a month ago today, by the way. The Rams put up 34 points against the Buccaneers, solid team. They did lose to the Panthers, put up 28 points. They dropped 45 on the Cardinals.
Yep.
Cardinals. Dropped 41 on the Lions. Lions put up 34 against them. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
These are just things I think about.
These are things worth thinking about.
These are things I think about, you know.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. It's like a couple heavyweight fighters. Okay, maybe the first, if I hit my microphone like a heavyweight fighter.
There you go.
Maybe the first matchup down at SoFi, it's kind of like figuring each other out. It was kind of weird, 21-19.
Sure.
Now it's like, okay, have a better idea of attacking these guys. You know, and to that end, I like the Seahawks' chances in that. You know, the only other game we have to measure against that for this season was the Cardinals down in Arizona on a Thursday night in September. They needed a last-second field goal, albeit they had a fast start.
Yep.
Up here, they took a 35-0 lead and, won 44-22. But even last year, let's go back. Lost the first game with the Niners Thursday night up here. How did Mike McDonald's team respond? They went down. I wanted to call it candlestick for a minute there, but they went down to the Bay Area and they beat the Niners, right? Mm-hmm. I would say about the Rams, but remember the Rams in that finale, they started Jimmy Garoppolo. They were kind of cruising because they had already locked it up.
Sure.
So that I don't like to use that as an example. And they beat the Cardinals twice because, of course, they did. They haven't lost to the Cardinals since 2021. Isn't that crazy?
Who are the Cardinals?
Nice.
I don't know.
But the guy that's going to trade someone to the Mariners, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Although I'm not about that. That could actually happen.
I'm familiar.
But yeah, so there's something, again, you start looking at the larger picture. Mike McDonald's teams always respond. And again, so that's what I try to look when teams are this close, right?
Mm.
And this could get blown up. Like the Rams could go on and win this thing convincingly. Like I'm not saying that's not possible. But like I think in a game like this, you have to look at the X factors. Look at those things that aren't on paper. Look at those things that you can only look and see and feel when you're at the stadium or you're on the field or you hear these guys talk in person every day. And they just always respond. And like I said, they're in lockstep about being galvanized and bowing each other out if they need to. And so I think that's what's going to happen in this game. Now, clearly, there's been a couple games where it didn't work. Niners in the opener, Rams down in SoFi. The defense was decimated. The secondary was killed by injuries against the Buccaneers. The offense was great, putting up 35 points to try and help them out. Just wasn't quite enough.
Right.
But the point is, it's always going to be there. And you look at the 3 Seahawks losses. Think about that for just a minute here. By a combined, hey, I can do the math in my head. 4 points, then 3 points is 7. The 3 losses by a combined 9 points.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And so I like the Seahawks team to bounce back. And it's going to be a weird score too. It's going to be like 26-24 or something like that.
Let's talk about what
4 more field goals from Myers.
Oh my God. Can you believe I cannot sit through another one of those. Let's talk about what the Rams are going to walk into on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Thursday night in Seattle, dark, cold.
Windy
and rainy.
Yeah,
it's been windy and rainy for the past 600 years in Seattle, in Western Washington. A lot of the state going through some incredible, crazy floods right now.
Right.
Seattle mostly dry, not on Thursday.
Right.
Windy, rainy, dark. Before your live shot in my hit today, we took a live look at Lumen Field. They were getting ready. You didn't see this, but the stadium was bright green. They were testing lights, sounds, colors for their new rivalry jerseys that they're wearing that day.
Yeah, how cool is that?
All things that can go with it.
They're actually repainting the Seahawks logo at the 15 in the end zones to reflect that green kind of iconic look they're gonna have. It's gonna be pretty cool.
Energy from the Seahawks fans. Hecklers, the one. Is gonna
that guy. I don't talk about that guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna be there. The energy of the 12s will be there.
Yeah.
That's one thing that they didn't have in Los Angeles,
right?
Obviously, because they're in Los Angeles. And you were in a nice little dome, and there's all climate controlled and things like that. You're not going to get that here. Because of these things, I wouldn't be shocked if I see a tie in this game.
Whoa!
I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not going to predict a tie, but I wouldn't be shocked.
I was like, that's a bold prediction.
No, it is a bold prediction, but given how close,
but that close, I get that.
But yeah, these two teams are very close. A couple last month, and I'm going to say that the Seahawks will eke out a win, if at all. I'm confident in the Seahawks. The Rams are excellent.
Sure.
No,
there's no doubt about that.
And I'm sure our producer Taylor Cole is listening to this right now. He's like, "Wow, Najee has really drank the Kool-Aid."
I think my impassioned speech about 5-6 minutes ago is kind of what won you over. No,
as far as going from predicting a loss for the Seahawks for the first time,
because I could tell you were trending towards picking the Rams.
I think, and I didn't give a Super Bowl pick at the beginning of this year, and I think the Rams look really good. Matt Stafford has never looked better in his career, even when he had Megatron.
Crazy. Yeah,
he's 1,000 years old. He's only a little bit younger than Phillip Rivers. If the Seahawks win, it'll be a very, very, very close game. And Mike McDonald's this will be a coaching masterclass by two coaches, by the way.
Yeah.
And Sean McVay and Mike McDonald. And yes, I'm vamping because I don't have a score in my head right now.
That's fine. I want to point something out about what you just said, though.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Mike McDonald's post-game comments after they beat the Colts, this win that was a win, but
it was a win because it was a win.
But that so many people were like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, they didn't score a touchdown. All the things that were reasonable, but he said, we found a way.
You found a way.
And that's what the identity of this team is.
Yeah.
And again, this could all be for naught if they lose. But there's a reason they've won 11 games, and it's that.
I want to also mention that Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks against the Rams was not the reason why they lost the game. No. They were close in spite of Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks.
Sure.
It's not something that I think we'll see this week. I'm hoping that we see a lot of run the dang ball. First of all, have you seen the hats?
Got to establish it. Yeah.
Have you seen the hats that say run the dang ball?
Yeah.
I need one of those.
They're pretty cool.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. I like it.
I think the Rams are just excellent. They really are. And I hate to say that I guess
about
a rivalry. They're really good.
Okay, so I'm predicting 26-24 Seahawks. Would I bet more than a few dollars of disposable income on it? Probably not.
I'm not.
But I just if you're looking at something so evenly, all the stuff I've been preaching the last few minutes. That's kind of where I go with this because again, it is so evenly matched.
I think the Seahawks
and it's a chess match.
I think the Seahawks will win 21-19. Just the opposite.
That would be kind of funny. That would be fitting in this rivalry.
It'd be fitting because these two teams are very even. I know I'm kind of like, and I don't want to say I'm down on the Seahawks, but after watching them against the Colts, I'm just like.
Yeah, I'm going to make you a bold prediction.
It put a little bit of a bad taste.
I hear you. No, then that's fair.
Yeah,
I'm going to make you a bold prediction here.
Okay.
The Seahawks and Rams will play in the divisional round of the playoffs. Now you look at it. If the Seahawks win, whoever wins the division is the 1 seed.
Sure.
Whoever doesn't is probably going to have the next best record in the NFC, but they have to go below all the divisional titles.
Right.
So they'll be the 5 seed.
Sure.
So 5 versus 4.
So
you win that game, then you play the 1.
This is round 2 of 3, is what you're saying, probably between the two teams.
Yeah, although it's possible you don't see them, but the Seahawks and Rams are gonna. Let me take the round out of it. The Seahawks and Rams will see each other in the playoffs. Is my prediction.
It could be in the NFC Championship.
It could be whatever it is.
No. Well, I think you're probably right, and I think whenever any team's playing each other for a third time,
right?
Oh my gosh, it's a lot.
It's crazy. Yeah. Really quick. This is literally just coming into my email as this computer is up here.
You got breaking news.
It's not breaking, but so we're recording this full disclosure Tuesday night at 6:00. I want to take a closer look at this injury report, which of course my computer is making very hard to read here. It's very tiny. Okay, so good news on Derek Hall, who had a little bit of a finger thing that he got hit in the game. He's full participation. He should be good.
Mm-hmm.
Of note, Charles Cross for a second straight day did not practice with a hamstring injury.
Interesting.
We'll have to keep close tabs on that. Mike McDonald will give an update Wednesday. If you're listening to this, he may have already done that. But Charles Cross is the only did not participate. Everybody else who had an injury, like Abe Lucas, has been dealing with some stuff. DeMarcus Lawrence, everybody else full participation. In other words, you don't got to worry about them.
And the thing is, we have a very short turnaround from Sunday. That's the thing.
And from the Rams' perspective, Braden on the defensive line didn't practice. Neither did Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm. I'd be shocked if we see Devontae Adams.
Yeah, so that's the big play.
Is
Devontae Adams
at his big
still
age.
Not prep, but Charles Cross equally as big on the other end. Charles Cross is out. That changes the calculus on this matchup in a lot of ways.
And maybe the lack of the run game. I'm not going to put it on one offensive lineman not being there, but I mean Charles Cross is a big deal.
Yeah,
he's
that's a big one. That's a big one.
That's a big loss, and we want to get the run game started. You want to start fast. You want to start fast on the ground,
and you have to start getting creative if that's the case. So again, recording this Tuesday night. We'll see what Mike McDonald says Wednesday afternoon. So that's a big one.
It's a big one, but I think it's not insurmountable at all. No?
It's a big one.
It is a big one.
I mean, this team is my whole speech a few minutes ago. They find ways.
Yeah.
But again, nothing's insurmountable necessarily.
No.
I mean, even if Drew Lock was starting, right? Like he could
have
a good game.
He
could have a good game.
Crazy.
I'm just saying. I like Drew. No, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Like you can always overcome it. And he's proven that.
What quarterback, going off of Phillip Rivers, what quarterback would you want to see who's retired in the past like 5 or 6 years? Pop back on it. Oh my gosh, I knew you were going to say
why not?
Because he already came back once,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, could he come back and go like
if
3-1?
If you're like, let's say you're the Carolina Panthers,
yeah,
and let's say Bryce Young gets hurt, you're calling Tom Brady, you're calling Thomas, okay,
yeah.
I would see what Big Ben still
try
has.
and win 3 games to get you into the playoffs because Brady's in good shape still. I guess he's maintaining himself.
That's true. Big Ben probably not.
Big Ben, I have not seen him, but I wouldn't have faith in that.
Yeah, no, I know Eli Manning wears glasses now, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, probably.
So it's going to be a fun one, Najee. I'll be live on KOMO News before the game, after the game. We'll give you a sneak peek at the rivalry series jerseys. They are pretty cool.
Despite the fact that they look like Oregon Ducks jerseys.
We're gonna. I want to reserve till I see them in action.
I think the helmet will look really cool.
Right. I want to see it in person. Like it's one thing to see it in the pro shop or NFLshop.com, but I want to see it on players and shoulder pads in stadium lights.
Yeah, and think about when you see these, don't think about feathers, think about decibels, think about beast quake, think about loudness.
That's what they're trying to do. Yeah.
Think about rain. Think about that's what they're trying to emulate on the shoulder pads. It's only an accident that they only kind of look like Oregon Ducks jerseys.
And we'll recap that after the game.
Yeah.
Najee, this was fun.
Yeah,
Seahawks Rams prime time. Live coverage from KOMO News before and after the game. But until then, boy, oh boy, everything on the line. The calculus of the season changes based on this outcome. So we're going to have fun breaking down on the other side of it, aren't we, Naj?
Yep, well, it's going to be great. I'm excited for this game.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Bye.